if God is God, then why did he let Satan come into the garden? I'll tell you why. Because God would be an unfair God if he gave us free choice, but then no choices. What choice did they have? God spoke to them, and if they didn't hear anything else but God, what's the point of free choice? Are you with me? That's why he let the serpent in. God says something, the serpent says something else, and they believe the serpent and choose to disobey God. Because God is holy, they had to separate from God in sin. And ever since, there's been a war. And the war one day will end when every single person on the planet hears about Jesus and has the same opportunity as Adam and Eve.
The Adam and Eve story has long captured the attention of Christian and non-Christian minds alike. Tropes of paradise, serpents, fruit, and fallenness have appeared in different works, but have they all addressed the manifestation secret hidden in history? Should you take this whole story as literally as it is? Or was there a tendency that this never happened, but was merely fiction to expose the truth about man and his being? There are a lot of hidden secrets behind the intentions of God following the creation of Adam and Eve and his actions toward the realization of the consumption of a fruit that was pictured as a path to knowledge of good and evil. In this video, we will be unveiling the connections of the story to man's actions and inactions, the relationship of this story to you in the manifestation of your desires, and how it affects your decisions and judgment. Let's take a quick look at the story as we go on this adventure of exciting knowledge. God fashions Adam from dust and places him in the Garden of Eden. Adam is told that he can eat freely of all the trees in the garden, except for a tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Subsequently, Eve is created from one of Adam's ribs to be his companion. They are innocent and unembarrassed about their nakedness. However, a serpent convinces Eve to eat fruit from the forbidden tree, and she gives some of the fruit to Adam. These acts not only give them additional knowledge, but it gives them the ability to conjure negative and destructive concepts such as shame and evil. God later curses the serpent and the ground. God prophetically tells the woman and the man what will be the consequences of their sin of disobeying God. Then he banishes them from the Garden of Eden. Manifestation is the practice of focusing your energy and intention to create your reality. It's a powerful tool that can help you to get to the place you want to be in life, both emotionally and physically. For example, if you have been thinking about getting a house on your own and you focused on exactly what you wanted and when you wanted it, your thoughts and feelings would be strong surrounding this. You could then try to meditate or learn how to visualize your goal, and this can help to manifest it into your reality. If you then got your new house and it was everything you wanted, you would have successfully manifested it into your life. So, now that you know what manifestation means, it's time to find out how manifestation works in the story of Adam and Eve. Nobody knows if the story of Adam and Eve is factual, but it is very symbolic. They are acts played in the consciousness of humans. The story is not about these two beings living in the Garden of Eden, but it exposes the human mind and its evolution. Although we are not talking about the physical majorly, it is part of it. We are talking about your consciousness, which is the part of you that creates your awareness. Now, the Garden of Eden is represented as your overall consciousness as a human. Mostly, God creates Adam, which is depicted as the masculine part of your mind. It depicts your ability to control your thoughts and energy in whichever way you deem fit. Better put, your conscious mind. Later, there comes Eve, who represents the feminine aspect of your mind, which houses your potential to be creative. It is the part that is responsible for your faith and creativity. Here in the feminine part, you learn, receive, and create, which is referred to your subconscious mind. It is important to emphasize that Eve was created from Adam, which implies that they are two different identities of the same being or source, because both are created in the image of God. Adam and Eve were allowed to eat from all the trees in the garden except the tree which would expose them to knowledge of good and evil. This clearly shows that there was room for all their desires to be manifested, as long as they did not judge. And there came the talking serpent, Satan. He tries to convince them to undermine the instructions God had given to them and eat the fruits which he has instructed them not to eat from. He began his persuasion on Eve, who represents your subconscious. Eve eats and also persuades Adam to eat. This means one thing. The subconscious mind can be contaminated with ideas, and whatever the subconscious takes and permits, the consciousness automatically experiences. Although Adam refuses at first, he is helpless and accepts. This is because the conscious mind would eventually succumb to whatever the subconscious has permitted or accepted. Moving on, they realized they were naked immediately after they finished eating from this forbidden tree. This gave them the ability to judge things and circumstances. Now they hid their judgment and developed their preferences, and suddenly began to lose trust in what God was doing. They hid their intentions from God and even each other. Remember, they had always anchored their trust in God, as they completely relied on Him for whatever they wanted or needed, and the manifestation of their desires without an iota of doubt that He would do them any harm. They never asked any questions, as they followed every instruction God laid, but suddenly, they developed the effrontery to question God and interfere in His plans of manifesting their desires. This birthed logic. Now, you devise logical solutions to solving your problems and would succeed at it. This made you as God, as you would contradict God's ways and plans. A duality was formed. Humans becoming beings who were created in the image of God was a curse in this story, because you would want to have your ways that are different from God's. Therefore, they would constantly strive to manifest their desires, even if it means judging God and doubting His ways. If you are conversant with the practice of the law of attraction, you would know that letting go is the simplest part of the process. Judgment is the opposite of letting go. You have problems trusting the process because of your ability to judge, and then we often ruin our manifestation. As a consequence of their actions, God gives them punishment for their sins, which is summarized as a man having to always now work and take responsibility for themselves and bear complete consequences of their manifestations. This means that man would be required to do the work of God for his manifestations, and that the masculine mind would have to implant his good ideas and beliefs into the feminine subconscious mind and protect her from bad influence and ideas. He would fight his doubts and trust that the subconscious would create the fruits of his desires. But he must also be fully aware that the subconscious mind needs protecting and a clear path to avoid negative influence, like the talking snake. Therefore, the conscious mind has the responsibility to constantly clear the way for the subconscious mind to flow with positive ideas. If the subconscious is not properly protected, it would pick up bad ideas again and manifest them as the conscious mind would helplessly experience. Furthermore, one of the curses God set forth was that the ground will begin to grow thorns, which represent suffering. This means that you will have unnecessary things growing into your conscious mind. So, just the way you remove thorns from your garden, you need to do the same in your conscious mind, clearing negative thoughts from your consciousness before it manifests as reality. Next in this story, God made them clothes to wear. This shows that Adam and Eve were not living in 3D reality. They were pure consciousness with no 3D reality. They get into the third dimension after forming judgment, and this makes complete sense because you can have judgment only in the third dimension where time is experienced locally. In higher dimensions, you receive all time at the same time. So infinite possibilities are open to humans at all times in higher dimensions. When you experience all possibilities at the same time, you cannot judge but just choose, because good and bad are different polarities of the same, but different possibilities. It is similar to choosing colors. You may have strong preferences for one color over others, but you do not label the colors you don't like as bad or evil. There is usually no judgment in the heart for just the color itself, except some bad incidents, which have happened to you, that are attached to that color. The final part of the story tells about how God prohibits them from eating from the tree of life, which is the source of immortality. He does this out of mercy. This shows that we could have had better and instantaneous manifestations if we were living in the dimension of God.